Okay, we're at the final parsha of the book of Genesis, if y'all can believe that. Parshas Vayechi, and it's starting at 47:28. And James, if you're going to read, you can read all the way to 48:17, I believe I said.
Yes. So, blessed Hashem, the Blessed One. Blessed is Hashem, the Blessed One for all eternity. Blessed are you, Hashem, our God, King of the universe, who has selected us from all the peoples and gave us his Torah. Blessed are you, Hashem, giver of the Torah.
Man,
Amen.
Amen. Noten HaTorah.
All righty, you guys ready for me?
we're ready.
Okay, I'm going to read from the Gutnick edition, which has the Rashi in line. So it's not going to just be the straight written Torah. It's going to have Rashi interwoven in, just so everybody knows. Yaakov lived in the land of Egypt for 17 years. The total of Yaakov's days, the years of his life, were 147 years. When the time drew near for Yisrael to die, he called his son Yosef and said to him, If I have now found favor in your eyes, please place your hand beneath my thigh and swear an oath that you will do for me true kindness. Please don't let me be buried in Egypt. Let me lie with my fathers. Carry out, carry me out of Egypt and bury me in their grave. I will do as you say, said Yosef. And Yaakov said, Swear to me. And he swore to him. Then Yisrael bowed down to him, Yosef turning toward the divine presence, which was at the top of the bed. Then after these words had been exchanged between Yaakov and Yosef, a messenger said to Yosef, Beware, your father is sick. He took his two sons, Manasseh and Ephraim, with him to Yaakov to bless them before he passed away. A messenger came to inform Yaakov and said, Look, your son Yosef is coming to visit you. Yisrael summoned his strength and sat up on the bed, since Yosef was a king. Yaakov said to Yosef, God Almighty appeared to me in Luz, in the land of Canaan, and he blessed me. He said to me, Look, I will make you fruitful and cause you to multiply, and I will make you into a multitude of peoples, and I will give this land to your descendants after you for an everlasting inheritance. And now your two sons, who were born to you in the land of Egypt before I came to you here in Egypt, will be counted as mine, to receive a share in the land of Yisrael. Ephraim and Manasseh will be mine, like Reuven and Shimon. But if you have more children after them, they will be counted as your own, and not as separate tribes. Regarding their inheritance, they will not be tribes unto themselves, but rather classified according to their brothers' names. I know that you are angry with me because when I was coming from Padan and Rochel died on me, which traveling through the land of Canaan, when there was still about a half a mile stretch of land to reach Ephras, and you're upset that I buried her on the way to Ephras in Bethlehem, but you shouldn't be upset because God told me to bury her there. Yisrael saw Joseph's sons. When he tried to bless them, the divine presence departed. So he said, From where was these boys born who are not worthy of being blessed? Producing his betrothal and marriage contracts, Joseph said to his father, They are my sons, whom God gave through a marriage certified by this documentation. When the divine spirit returned, Yaakov said, Bring them near to me, and I'll bless them. Yisrael's eyes had become heavy with age, and he had not seen, and he could not see. So Yosef brought the boys near him, and he kissed them and hugged them. Yisrael said to Yosef, I didn't even expect to see your face, and look, God has shown me your children too. After Yaakov kissed the boys, Yosef took them from Yaakov's lap and placed one child to his right and one to his left, so that he could rest his hands on them and bless them. Yosef stepped back and threw himself down on the ground. Yosef then took them both, Ephraim on his right to Yisrael's left, and Manasseh, the firstborn, on his left to Yisrael's right. so that he would place his right hand on the firstborn. And he brought them close to him. But Yisrael stretched out his right hand and placed it on Ephraim's head, although he was the younger. And he placed his left hand on Manasseh's head. He guided his hands deliberately in full awareness that Manasseh was the firstborn. He blessed Joseph and said, O God, before whom my father Abraham and Yitzchak walked, O God, who has looked after me from my birth to this day, may the angel whom you always sent to redeem me from all harm bless these lads. May they be called by my name and the name of my fathers Abraham and Yitzchak, and may they increase in the land like fish.
All right. Thank you. Very good. Okay, so we're here at the end of
Princess Quit.
Yaakov's life. And so in verse 29 it says, when it came time to draw near for Israel to die, he called his son Joseph and said to him, if I have found favor in your eyes, please place your hand beneath my thigh and swear an oath. So this just goes back to reinforce the idea of the binding speech, so to speak, legal speech uh, associated with the courts of justice, uh, speech that obligates an action. Um, so the idea here with placing your hand beneath my thigh is kind of like a code language uh, that is referring to, according to Rashi, the sign of the covenant, which is circumcision. So actually, he placed his hand on the circumcision, the sign of the covenant of his father, Joseph did, and swore on that covenant that he would not bury his father in the land of Egypt, which was his main concern. Um, so he goes on to say, you will do me a true kindness. Please don't let me be buried in Egypt. And this is, this hesed, this kindness, um, is especially meaningful or powerful, whatever you want to call it, uh, would you do it according for the dead? Because it is a true kindness, and that's what it's saying. A true kindness when you do something for someone that you know cannot never pay you back, or there's no benefit left from it, because there's nothing they can do for you. There's no influence. There's nothing that can be done when you do something for someone that is deceased. That is a true kindness, a true hesed. And this kind of this idea develops on into the mitzvah in Deuteronomy 23:22 through 24, where one must not delay in fulfilling a vow. If you make a vow, you fulfill it as soon as possible. It's not when you get around to it or whatever happens there. Uh, this is a type of language, to take a vow, to take an oath, is to fill it as soon as possible. Uh, and it's also, uh, associated with, keeping your word. And the reason that Yaakov wasn't, didn't want to be buried in Egypt is he was concerned that being in an idolatrous country, the Egyptians would end up worshiping him. And that's Rashi, and you should be able to find that in there on that verse.
Which verse is it? Which verse?
I think it's 29 or 30.
Hey, Russell, do you think an implementation of that, and I'm not saying this is explicitly talking about Christianity, but do you think Christianity could be an implementation of this? Because this is like very Metatronic. They're talking about the messengers coming.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Also, it says uh, on the way in Bethlehem, she died on the road, and I had to bury her there. It could be an illusion. It appears to me like a lot of this is talking about the I guess the burial of Christianity. And I'm not saying that so much in a negative sense, but in other words, um, so in the Christian writings, it talks about the Nehushtan and how the Nehushtan was being lifted up, and it says that JC said he was like the Nehushtan. But we also know from the Tanakh that people start to worship the Nehushtan, and it had to be buried, it had to be ground up, and it had to be destroyed. And I'm wondering if this is an allusion to the faces. So what's going on in the Torah is an allusion to the faces of Metatron. In other words, like you were saying, didn't want to be worshipped. You're not supposed to worship these Metatronic forces. And it's supposed to be like a guide to you to get you into proper Torah. And it's very interesting how they're talking about, hey, don't let me die. Don't keep me in Egypt. So I don't know. I'm not clear on it, but I didn't know if you had anything to say about it. But that's kind of what perked up in my mind because I just kind of have a feeling that a lot of Christians are going to come out of Christianity and they're going to need a landing pad in Torah. And I'm wondering if this is kind of that process, or one of the processes, just as Metatron has, these 70 faces and the like.
Yeah, I think that's a very good observation, and it goes to uh, proving the power that Yaakov possessed and that he was aware of. He was conscious of the position that he had and within and even within Egypt and how powerful his family was and how they and everything. So he was mindful of that. But when I'm thinking of this, I'm thinking of getting 57 B where um, Yeshu is boiling in a vat of feces, okay? And feces, this is a metaphorical story or an allegorical story saying that, associated with idolatry. And so what is said about it is that because the Christians are worshiping Yeshu as a god, it was holding him in idolatry and holding him in Gehinnom and not allowing his soul to progress onward. And in the back of my mind, I see Yaakov may be concerned about this same thing.
Isn't it similar to the story of Gehazi?
Yeah,
uh,
that's
didn't somebody come to like rescue Gehazi, but he was like, no, I can't, or some such. I forget the story in detail.
yeah.
But he had Saras, and somebody came to heal him, or he wanted to do Shuva or some such, but he couldn't. Or somebody withheld him, or he withheld himself. I forget. Similar. What I'm saying is it's a similar illusion.
From so that they wouldn't worship him is what you're saying is they wouldn't think that he was uh, uh, something to be worshipped or out of fear of that?
People couldn't do teshuva because they're literally people are worshiping him. It's in other words, it's an avera to be an intermediary. And so if people are using you as an intermediary, it's like, okay, guys, you got to stop using me as an intermediary because you're keeping me from doing teshuva. You're keeping me from progressing on, which is again, along the lines of what you're saying, I think.
Yeah, it gives them they are afraid of a special status of being an intermediary and having that special status and the dangers of that status being worshipped and then doing actually damage to the soul of those people that you're or those individuals you are worshiping as God, you know, and it's kind of interesting in an idea is, you're not allowed back in Gehenna uh, if you're being worshipped as God because there's only room in Gehenna for Gan Eden,
No.
uh,
I wonder where he's going with
uh, Gan Eden for one God. And so you can't have someone else enter it that's being worshipped as God. It seems to me that it would mess up the whole uh, unique oneness of God if there were two
Yeah, got it.
entities. Yeah, there were two. There was somebody else in Gan Eden that down on earth they were being worshipped as God, along with God being worshipped as God. So it's kind of that. It's kind of a weird situation that they've got themselves into that Yaakov was trying to avoid by saying, "Look, don't bury me here. Don't put me in this situation to where they'll come to my gravesite and want me to and pray to me and want me to intercede." Because then people are going to start thinking that that I'm this intermediary and that I have this special power, and they're going to worship me because they think I'm going to do something for them in heaven and put my soul in jeopardy, which we see time and time again after going to people going to the graves of the sages and the great rabbis and praying for them to intercede. It's a great danger for them. Uh, and that's what I'm thinking of when I'm seeing this process here, um, and his concerns about uh, having him move out of Egypt back into the land of Israel, which, we may have never thought about that on our own. We just thought that he wanted to be buried in his family plot,
him.
with the coordinate being buried with his family or be having a spiritual coordinate of Hebron, which is where they were. This cave of Machpelah is in the city of Hebron. But I think I read an article last night that Mike sent me about how uh, the Jewish people are taking back Hebron totally away from the mosque, and so now they're getting they're taking that completely over. And so, what that's alluding to there, just as a side note, is that the government of Israel is starting to take back over its holy places from the Muslims. And that's going to be setting up the precedent for taking back the Temple Mount.
Hey guys, I got some stuff I can throw on this one.
Yeah.
Okay, uh, Jacob said to Joseph, El Shaddai, right?
Mhm.
Why did he say El Shaddai? Why didn't he say Elohim? Why didn't he say Havayah? Why do we have Shaddai? It goes back to what James was talking about. Shaddai is Gematria 314, El Shaddai, which is Metatron. And Shaddai is also the name associated with Yesod, which is what Russell was alluding to about the covenant and grabbing the bread, right?
Mhm.
And this is leading into 49, which is what is going to happen in the end days. So this is a epicenter of front side, backside. And Rachel here is the Shekhinah, and the Shekhinah is in exile. It's buried along the side of the road because as all the children comes back, she's there waiting for her children, right? And if my memory serves me right, the crossing of the hands. This is the twin messiahs here, Ephraim and Manasseh. This is the aspect of the twin messiahs, and so you're the right side is Hesed, the left side is Gevurah, right? So if these two guys are both right and left side, he crosses his hands, and now you have Hug going one way, Hasidim and Guvurot going one way, and then Hasidim and Guvurot going the other way. So he's bringing balance. But also, if you look at the sporadic structure, you're looking at it from the back side because the right side is your right side. If I'm looking at you face to face and I stretch my right hand out and put it on your shoulder, it's on your left shoulder. But so this is a Metatron face-to-face thing. So now I have to take my right hand and put it across you to touch your right shoulder. You see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Okay. So this is a front side, back side. And all this is establishing that which is on the front side. It's no longer a backside issue. And you can't stay in Egypt and you can't be there. And Jacob knows this because if he's on the backside, they will make a idol out of him or a she-tooth out of him.
Mhm.
You see what I'm saying? So he's like, you have to take me to Israel, Klai Israel, which is the front side. I can't stay on the backside. And so Israel knows all this. Joseph knows all this. They've already had the encounter with El Shaddai, the specific name of Yesod, and this is a foundational timestamp of what's going to happen in the end of days and how Israel is going to be returned to the land, right? To Klal Israel. And of course, all the things with Machpelah and all the stuff that you were alluding to, that's all part of Gan Eden, of entering into the Gan. And then so outside the land, you have Rachel, which is the aspect of the Shekhinah, outside of Machpelah, rather, kind of in exile, outside of the Gan. And the other person that's buried outside is Moses, who is in union with the Shekhinah in exile. So this is the aspect that's going to usher in these twin messiahs who are completely balanced on Hasidim and Guvurot, on each side, that is going to usher this thing in. So if I remember from Bax, that's the Hiddish there.
Okay.
Very good. Thank you.
Yeah.
In Rachel's tomb, they had to fortify it because the Arabs were tearing it up and destroying it.
Yeah.
So that it looks like a fortress when you go to her tomb now.
Oh,
And
wow.
hey, Russell, the other thing you were talking about getting and this feces or whatever, that's waste. Waste is on the backside. Waste is the hitzonim. So it's another backside, front side story because if on the front side of a man is where he procreates, and on the back side of the man is where the waste comes out. And so this is Gan Eden is the front side, and Gehenna is the waist, is the backside.
Mhm.
It's all another alluding to illusion's a terrible word, but it's alluding to the aspect of where his coordinate is.
And
He's
it's
backside.
concerning.
You see him saying? He is the coordinate of the backside here. And Israel's like, don't leave me in the backside, guys.
Well, Joseph is going to have the same concerns,
Yeah.
and he's going to want the same thing. But it shows you where their concerns are
Yeah,
about
they
their
know what's
community.
going on. They are fully aware of who they are and where they are. You know, it's make no mistake, they know, you know.
Yeah. Um, okay, so in one thing here, just to make note of, because we're going to run across it a little further down the line here, is in 31, where it talks about this, and this is a very interesting statement. It says Israel bowed down to Joseph, turning towards the divine presence, which was at the top of his bed.
Mhm.
And so I want to get over here to this other part, and then and but just remember that this divine presence is already at the top of his bed here, uh, uh, as he's doing this. And let's see.
The the bed indicates he's in union with the Shekhinah at this point. That's what code bed is.
Right, and
And
that would allude to the presence of it being there.
correct.
So
Doesn't
let's
doesn't Metatron surround King Solomon's bed? There's a prayer at nighttime, the bedtime prayer in the
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. It's all you sowed energy, you know, and it comes from the, this the 60, which is also the Talmud. There's 60 tractates, and the word hine, 60, is the word behold. That's why anytime you see the word in Torah, behold, something absolute, something heavenly happens. Like, behold, and an angel of the Lord said,
And there's Hineni here in chapter 48. Um, he said to me, "Look, I will make you fruitful and cause you to multiply." Talking about the appeared to me in Luz.
Yeah, yeah. We have in verse 1, we have behold, dash. What's going on in that dash? Your father is ill, right? And then Jacob was told, behold, dash, your son Joseph came. What is that dash? What's going on in that dash? That is the place where you fill in Metatron. This is the interface.
And yeah, and see that deal on being sick was not common, especially for the patriarchs, to be sickly or be sick. And there's a source, I can't remember where it was, but it says that Yaakov prayed to be ill so all of his sons would come, so he could prophesy and go over this, because he knew it was time for him to die. He wasn't dying because he was sick. It was just it was his time to be ill, but he wanted all of his sons to come there together so he could prophesy over them. I wish I'd have wrote that source down, but I didn't. Um, and then I don't know if we're and and so it appeared to him in Luz. And the other here in verse, what is that, verse 3? It says, where it appeared to me in Luz. The other idea about going back to Machpelah in the cave, and the whole idea of that cave being connected, the fissures in the earth and all of that thing, that cave being connected to the Evan Stia, or below the Evan Stia, and the lose bone um, that is traveling back to the Evansteia, and that part of the body that the resurrection is originates from, that moisture that's within that bone that is associated with learning Torah, that actually retains moisture into the loose bone, that allows that spark of the resurrection to regenerate the physical body. And that is another uh, motivation, I guess, so to speak, for Yaakov to want to be back into that location. Um,
Yeah, there is no death in Luz.
yeah,
Luz is the place where there is no death. Have ha, have we? I just jumped on here just a second ago. Have we read 48 yet? Chapter 48.
up to 17.
Okay, then look at verse 16. May the angel who redeemed me from all evil bless the lads. This is Metatron. And why? Because it bless the lads. Lads is a code word Metatron. I was young and now I'm old. The Na'ar, the youths, the lads. This is code name Metatron. He is the angel of redemption, and they proliferate like fish. This is why on Rosh Hashanah, we throw our breadcrumbs or whatever into the water, because fish do not have eyelids and they're underwater, and they are not subject to the evil eye. So this thing here is loaded with stuff.
Yeah, it really is. All right, so let's is that we got everything kind of covered in this area? Y'all ready to move on, or is there anything else y'all want to? Because, like I said, it's loaded. I mean, we could spend a long time in this area. So I'm going to go ahead and start with 48:17, and probably go on down to 49:19. So when Joseph saw that his father was placing his right hand on Ephraim's head, he became upset. So he lifted up his father's hand, removing it from upon Ephraim's head, in order to place it on Manasseh's head. Joseph said to his father, "Father, that's not right. This one is the firstborn. Put your right hand on his head." But his father refused, and he said, "I know, my son, that he is the firstborn. I know he too will father a nation, and he too will be great, but his younger brother will be greater than him, and his children's fame will spread throughout the nations." He blessed them on that day, saying, "The children of Israel will always bless their children with your names, saying, may God make you like Ephraim and Manasseh." He placed Ephraim before Manasseh in his blessings to indicate that he would take precedence in the order of the tribes. Israel said to Joseph, "Look, I am going to die. God will be with you, and he will bring you back to the land of your fathers. Since you were taking the trouble to bury me, I have given you one portion more than your brothers. The city of Shechem, which I took from the hand of the Amorites with my sword and with my bow, when they waged war against us after Simeon and Levi killed the people of Shechem." Yaakov called for his sons and said, "Gather around, and I will tell you what will happen to you at the end of days." But Yaakov found himself unable to reveal the time when Mashiach would come, so he changed the subject. He said, "Sons of Yaakov, gather around and listen. Listen to Israel, your father. Reuben, you are my firstborn, my strength, conceived from my first drop of vigor. You were worthy of being privileged with priesthood and privileged with kingship. But because of your reckless haste, which was like running water, when you interfered with your father's bed, you will not be privileged. For when you desecrated the divine presence which rested above my bed, Simeon and Levi are the brothers who plotted against Shechem and against Joseph too. Their murderous use of weapons has been stolen from Asaph. When the tribe of Simeon will conspire against Moshe, do not let my own name be mentioned with their conspiracy. When Levi's great-grandson, Korah, and his colleagues will rebel against Moshe, do not let my honorable name be associated with their rebellious congregation. Simeon and Levi killed every man in Shechem to vent their anger, and they willingly attempted to maim Joseph, who is like an ox, and the king of animals. Cursed be their wrath, for it is powerful, and their rage, for it is callous. I will separate them by denying Levi a share in the land like the other sons of Yaakov, and I will scatter both of them throughout Israel, since the tribe of Levi will be searching for tithes, and the tribe of Simeon's source of income will cause them to spread out. When Yehuda saw that Yaakov was rebuking his sons, he drew back. So Yaakov called out to him, "Yehuda, you are not like them. Your brothers will acknowledge you as their leader. Your hand will be on the neck of your enemies. Your father's sons will bow down to you. From Yehuda, King David will emerge first as a lion cub during Shaul's reign, and then a fully grown lion when he becomes king himself. Even though I suspected you of the plot to tear down Joseph like prey, withdrew yourself from the plot, my son, and you refrained from killing Tamar. Therefore, your descendant, King Shlomo, will crouch and rest like a lion while the Jewish people dwell in safety. No nation will dare imitate him as if he were a lion, as if he were, wait a minute, no nation will dare intimidate him as if he were a lion. The stick of authority will never leave Yehuda, nor scholars from the feet of his descendants, until the coming of Mashiach, to whom kingship belongs. He will gather the people in Yehuda's territory. Wine will flow like a fountain, such that a man will harness his donkey to a single vine, or a young donkey to a single vine branch, and it will already be loaded to capacity. There will be so much wine that a person could wash his clothes with wine and his robe with grape juice. People will be red-eyed from wine and white-toothed from the abundance of milk. Zebulon will live in his territory by the seacoast. He will be at the ship's port doing business, and the end of his territory will be Tzidon. Issachar is like a donkey with strong bones, because he bears the yoke of Torah. Like a donkey, he journeys day and night, resting temporarily between the city borders. The Torah scholars cannot rest day or night from Torah studies. Issachar will see that his portion in the land of Israel is good, and that the land is fertile, so he will not have to work hard. Consequently, he will bend his shoulders down to bear the yoke of Torah, and he will pay his dues by serving the rest of the Jewish people, teaching Torah law. Dan will enact vengeance for his people against the Philistines, and the tribes of Israel will be as one with them. Shimshon, a descendant of Dan, will be a serpent on the road, a viper on the path, who bites the horse's heels so its rider falls backwards without even having to fight with the rider. But when Shimshon will be overcome by his enemies, he will say, I hope for your salvation, O God.
Do
Okay.
you want to go ahead and read through 26? It's just 8 more verses, and then it'll put us to a great big one.
Okay. As for Gad, troops will troop forth from him over the Jordan River to conquer the land. They will troop back in their own tracks to the lands of their inheritance on the other side of the Jordan, and not one man will be missing from them. From Asher, the land will come rich food, and he will provide royal delicacies. Naphtali land will yield fruit like a gazelle that has been freed and runs quickly, for which the people will give thanks and blessing. Joseph is a charming son, a son whose charm impresses the eye that sees him. Egyptian girls would step along a wall to gaze at his beauty. His brothers made him bitter, quarreled with him, and hated him. They were men with tongues like arrows. But in spite of that, his power was firmly established, and a golden ring was placed on his finger. Through the hands of God, the mighty one of Yaakov, and from there he rose to royalty and was the provider of Israel. All this came to you from the God of your father, and he will continue to help you. Your heart was with God when you refused to listen to Potiphar's wife, and therefore he will bless you with the blessings of the heavens above and the blessings of the depths that lie below, the blessings that fathers and mothers need, the blessings which God gave to your father surpass the blessings which he gave to my parents. For he gave me an unlimited blessing, reaching to the ends of the world's hills. May all these blessings be on Joseph's head, the man who was separated from his brothers. Okay, so that took us to verse 27. And where did we start at?
We started at 17. 48:17.
Oh, 48:17. All right. So when we're looking at Reuben, we first we see it's within the context of sexual immorality and how much of a price that has to pay.
Mm-hmm.
That we pay for the sexual immorality. He was, and this is interesting here, that he was privileged, or he would have been privileged with the priesthood and kingship if he wouldn't have gotten involved with this sexual immorality. Okay. This, to me, in my mind, alludes to Melchizedek. Back in, was it Genesis 14:18, to where he was both king and priest. So and I don't know if this is some kind of if all of this would have worked out, would he have been this uh, ruler, this messianic ruler that would be both king and priest type of deal? You know, Melchizedek, because he didn't give God thanks first, but he thanked Abraham, he lost he lost his priesthood uh and everything to Abraham. And so he too lost his positions, and he from his actions and from what he did. Um, Reuben, now this birthright, kind of like with Esau. You know, Esau sold his birthright, but Reuben lost his birthright, and he lost it to Ephraim and Manasseh. So Ephraim and Manasseh took the birthright. Um, Levi took the priesthood, and Yehuda took the kingship.
Mhm.
Reuben lost all of this because of sexual immorality and what he did, and how devastating uh, that prohibition is uh, when committed. I mean, it affected it affects the course of life uh, for him and his descendants. And and it was kind of this deal that, because you know he committed this in Yaakov's, I think, was it Yaakov's bed? Didn't he move his bed over there or whatever it was?
Yeah, Darko's bed to Bilhah.
And what did we see earlier? Or we can look over here in verse, what is this, verse 4? It says, "For then you desecrated the divine presence which rested above my bed." He lost all of this stuff because he embarrassed the Shekhinah, and it departed from him because he did this um, before the Shekhinah, who rested over Yaakov's bed. Uh, but here there's a source in Shabbat 55b that says that it's still a mistake to think that Reuben sinned. But he still, even if we don't think that he sinned in doing this, he still lost his status as a firstborn, and of the kingship, and of the priesthood. So he still lost all of that. Um, because Bilhah was actually his aunt. And and then, of course, there is later on, we're going to see this come up as a mitzvah: Leviticus 18:8, 20:11, Deuteronomy 22:30. All of these start identifying this action as laying with your father's wife that's not your mother, is still a Torah prohibition. So this was alluding to these Torah prohibitions of that sexual immorality of laying with your father's wife, but probably also your aunt.
Mhm.
Um, uh, Simeon Levi. Of course they were involved in that bloodshed and in that violence, and the idea of killing out of anger. Um, Killing out of anger, is this bloodshed, is this murder, and it later turns into this prohibition um, in Exodus 20:13, Deuteronomy 5:17, as this prohibition against murder. Uh, as opposed to manslaughter, which is a different thing that we've talked about.